section of Western Virginia was had a variety of settlements. Beverly was one of the earliest ones. It was established in 1790 as the county seat of the newly formed county of Randolph. And when the Stanton-Parkersburg Turnpike was built through in the 1840s, it was completed about 1845. This gave a much better transportation route through Beverly and the other counties in this frontier region. When the Civil War started, this turnpike was strategically important because of the access it gave from the Stanton in the Shenandoah Valley to Parkersburg on the Ohio River, and also it was an access route to the B&O Railroad, which ran just north of here and connected by feeder turnpikes. So both sides were very interested in holding and controlling the Stanton-Parkersburg Turnpike. The Confederates had troops in this area of Western Virginia trying to control the turnpike and the territory. The Union sent Union troops from Ohio across the river and also joined up with some loyal Virginia troops that had joined to support the federal cause under General George McClellan. And their first clash was at Philippi in Barber County north of here when the Confederates routed and retreated from the town. Following that, the Confederates fortified two main passes over the mountains. One was at Laurel Hill near Belington on the Beverly-Fairmont Turnpike, and the other one was here at Rich Mountain on the Stanton-Parkersburg Turnpike. It was at the western base of the mountain and was known as Camp Garnett, named after the Confederate commander in the region, General Garnett. The Camp Garnett had 1,900 men here, mostly of the 20th and 25th Virginia, under the command of Colonel John Pegram. McClellan brought his forces. He had over 5,000 troops with him personally, and they advanced from Buchanan and set up camp west of here at Roaring Creek Flats, which is now the town of Mabee. And they were camped here by July 10th. And were facing the Confederates then at Camp Garnett. McClellan had sent another force under General Morris up to challenge General Garnett at Laurel Hill, and the Confederates didn't know where the main attack would come. On the day before the Battle of Rich Mountain, on the 10th, McClellan had sent skirmishers up the turnpike to test the defenses of the fortification. This is part of what we were reenacting in the Saturday battle at the reenactment. And they advanced. There was some cannon bombardments both directions, and discovered that yes, indeed, this was a formidable fortification, and if they tried to attack head-on, there would be considerable losses. So they pulled back to their camp at Roaring Creek and thought again. On the evening of July 10th, a young man named David Hart came into the Union camp and offered that he could lead the Union troops on a roundabout route up the mountain around the turnpike and to come out at the pass at the top of the mountain where his family's farm was. He was, since he was from the area, he knew all of the paths and backwoods, and said that he could find him a way up there. After some thought, General McClellan decided to give this a try, and he sent a brigade of just under 2,000 men, commanded by General William Rosecrans, to follow David Hart up the mountain. They left in the early morning and went through the woods in the forest up the mountain, had several misturns and confusions, and it was raining, and it was quite an expedition. They couldn't take any cannons with them because of the roughness of the trail. And it was middle of the afternoon then, about 2 o'clock on July 11th, when they finally emerged. That they had been coming along the top of the mountain by this point, and came down to the Joseph Hart farm at the pass where the turnpike passed the top of Rich Mountain. They found there, instead of, they thought it would be empty, but the Confederates had sent a small outpost of men, 310 men with one cannon, up to guard the pass at the top of the mountain. They were afraid that the Union troops might flank them from the other side and have gone around, be coming up the turnpike from Beverly. So they had thrown up some hasty breastworks and were expecting the Union troops to come from the north or the east. Instead, they came at them from the south, and the Confederates quickly moved to the other side of the breastworks and hid behind the Hart House and the stable and the rocks in the stable yard to take shelter. And for about 2 hours then, there was this battle up there between the small Confederate force with one cannon and the larger infantry force with no artillery. And the Union troops advanced and retreated several times until finally, in a big push, they rushed the Confederate position and took the cannon, and the Confederate defenders were forced to flee. Some of the Confederates made it back down to Camp Garnett. Colonel Pegram realized that he was surrounded, that he couldn't hold that position any longer. So during the night, he evacuated the camp, leaving behind just those that were too sick or wounded to travel. And they retreated through the woods up and over the mountain. The front section of that column, led by mapmaker Jed Hotchkiss, successfully escaped through Beverly and down the turnpike. Somewhere along the way, the column got separated, and the remainder of the troops under Colonel Pegram ended up in the Tigris Valley, but could not get through Beverly and surrendered a day or so later. In the meantime, Rosecrans and his federal troops camped at the battlefield overnight. The next morning they came back down the turnpike to Camp Garnett from the rear and found it abandoned, and sent word to General McClellan that Camp Garnett had been secured. McClellan took personal credit for this entire victory and sent telegrams and publicized his victory very widely, and made his reputation then as a winning general. About this same time, while this was going on, there was still skirmishing going on at Laurel Hill up by Belington. General Garnett, when he heard that Camp Garnett had been taken, he retreated with his troops north and east up the Shavers Fork towards what's now Parsons, with General Morris's Federals pursuing them. And General Garnett was shot and killed in a skirmish there at Corrick's Ford. He was the first general to die in the Civil War. This battle was highly significant because the Union victory here, taking control of the turnpike and of Beverly and effectively of all of Western Virginia north and west of here, established Union control over this territory and made it possible for the formation of the state of West Virginia 2 years later in 1863. It also made McClellan's reputation as a winning general, and he was soon called to Washington by President Lincoln, who badly needed a winning general, and he was put in command of the Army of the Potomac and later of all of the Union forces. Following the Battle of Rich Mountain, the Federal troops took command in Beverly and essentially garrisoned the town for the rest of the war. It was raided a few times, but the Federals kept control. This building that's now the Rich Mountain Visitor Center was the Federal headquarters, was General McClellan's headquarters in Beverly. The Federal troops also then built a fortification along the turnpike south of here at Cheat Summit Fort, at the top of Cheat Summit. And the Confederates had fortifications at Camp Bartow near what's now the town of Bartow, and behind that at the top of the mountain at the top of Allegheny. And there were attacks and skirmishes here for the rest of the year of 1861, including General Robert E. Lee coming into Western Virginia and trying to help coordinate retaking the turnpike, an attempt which failed. The Union and Confederate troops spent the winter then of 1861 and 62 in their respective camps at Cheat Summit and in Allegheny, camping at over 4,000 feet at the top of these mountains. It was a bitter winter, a very difficult situation for them. And in the spring of 1862, both camps were abandoned and the troops moved eastward down into the Shenandoah Valley and clashed at the Battle of McDowell, which was essentially the start of Stonewall Jackson's Valley Campaign. One of the interesting things about the Rich Mountain Campaign was that McClellan had brought the telegraph with him. His troops were stringing wire as they went and had the telegraph in their camp so that they were connected at all times. This is supposed to be the first time that the telegraph had traveled with the Army and that it was used in the field in this manner. And of course then when McClellan sent off his victory telegrams, they were immediately got to Washington and to the national press at a much faster speed than was customary for the time. Here at the reenactment this year, we've been lucky to have some reenactors portraying the Signal Corps, and with the telegraph here, we have telegraph wires strung through the camps, and that's really added a lot to our reenactment.
What I am doing right now is I am doing registrations for everybody showing up, getting all of the people in the right places doing the right things. Later we'll be running a telegraph station here, along with my wife and a few other people. So right now I'm just doing registration.
No questions. Did he say we're done?
We're making charges for ground charges. These will go into steel pots, and then there'll be the pots will be filled with peat moss and wood chips, and you set these off to simulate artillery rounds hitting the ground and exploding.
He dies the whole thing.
Okay.
I've been captain since '90 of the 2nd Virginia. Main reason I do it because I love it. I mean, it's just something I always wanted to do. I mean, I got my first reenactment I ever saw was 37 years old. I was over at the Strawberry Festival in Upshur County, and so watched this thing, and boy, I'd love to do that. Boy, I'd love to do that. Got to walking away. I had my dad with me. He was walking away, and I got thinking to myself, I said, the average life expectancy of a white male in this country is 74 years old. I'm 37. I'm on a downhill slide. If I'm going to do any stuff, I better do it now.
So how long have you been doing it?
13 years.
13 years. How is it physically on you? I mean, I know myself, I'm 53, and I'm out of shape anyway, but it was tough on me.
I'm not exactly one of the, Andersonville survivors here. every year it gets a little harder. It gets a little harder every year. I mean, you got to figure their average age was probably 21, 22 years old. I mean, I'm way over the hill for any of this stuff. I mean, there were guys in their 50s, in the war. I read a study somewhere here they did last year that the average age of most reenactors is 47.
So is your family
reenact with you? Most of my family got involved when my wife didn't when I first started. But then for about 5 or 6 years, my wife was really involved in it. And my one daughter, I have 3 daughters, my one really got involved in it. She's running around here somewhere today. And, but yeah, it's a good family. It's a good family thing to get into. And most of the guys in our unit, their wives or their daughters or their kids are, come with them. And I think my grandkids are even in it now. I mean, my grandson is really interested in it. He's 10.
Do you have any advice for any other people out there that are 50 or older that are just sitting around doing nothing?
Well, I'll tell you what, this is a good thing to get into. I mean, you don't have to be Arnold Schwarzenegger to get into this. And if it's something you really want to do, just go to a reenactment and talk to the reenactors. I've never met a reenactor that wouldn't sit and talk for 3 hours. If you had somebody ask them a question, you should never be afraid to ask any reenactor a question, because I said they're all hams.
Yeah.
And I know I am, and I know everybody in my unit will play up anything. I mean, if anybody's ever been to Jackson's Mill, we ham it up really good for the crowd, and the crowd loves it. But if you've got I don't care if you're 35 or anywhere from 35 to 50, if you got a yearning to do this, get out and do it. I mean, especially if you're into Civil War history. If anybody's into Civil War history and you really have been studying it for years and read about it, this is the only way you can get a perspective on what these old boys actually went through. I mean, I'm not going to completely get out of it ever, I don't think, but it's something I really like. And I love this period of history. And if anybody's got any love for this period of history, to keep it alive, jump right into it.
There was a 90-day regiment which was formed in May of 1861. Fought up here at Philippi. A couple of companies were here. A couple of companies were up at Laurel Hill, Fieldington. Whenever Garnett left Laurel Hill, Fieldington on his infamous try to get out of here.
Come on, Boris. Come on, Boris.
Any Yankee dollars in the crowd? $2 a bottle for Dr. Martin's cure-all.
Boris, you're...
How about 20?